Hi everyone, so today I'm coming in with quite a quick video just to show you how I made some flowers. Sometimes I like to get ready when I know that I will have lots of cards to make, which is coming up in June. So I like to get prepared with some flowers. This just makes card making so much easier for me. I don't have to start from scratch with every single card, but I already have some gorgeous embellishments made. So for these flowers, I use the Elegant Flower die set from Chloe's Creative Cards. And this die set comes in 3 different sizes, and each size has 2 different dies. One of the solid ones on the top row and one that cuts out lovely lacy detail on the bottom row. So I've already cut out the solid ones. Today in this video I'm more or less going to focus on the lacy detailed ones, which can be quite tricky sometimes to cut. So the top row, the solid pieces, I just ran through my die cutting machine like normal. For all my flowers that you've seen and that I'm going to do now, I used either the leafy lace paper pad or the pastel sorbet paper pad, both from Chloe's Creative Cards. As you can see, both of these paper pads have some gorgeous printed colored papers in them, and they have 2 different sides, darker one on one side and lighter one on the flip side. So this gorgeous corally one that I'm going to use today is the last one of this color in my paper pad. I just loved using this one. So you can see the 2 different sides of that same paper pad, giving you 2 different colored flowers. They are just stunning colors, these. So this is what I'm going to use today to cut out the lacy detail. You can see the lighter side I already prepared ahead of time, and today we are going to focus on this darker side of the paper. But before I come to this, I am going to show you what happens if I run the die through my die cutting machine without any aid. So I'm going to take a piece of purple paper from the same paper pad, and I'm going to run this through my Gemini die cutting machine. And the plate combination I'm using, the sandwich for the die cutting machine, is the cutting mat, plastic shim, metal shim, and another cutting mat. So I'm going to run this through, and you'll see after the first cut it does not cut through very well, but I wasn't expecting it to. So with lacy details like this, with very detailed dies, you would need to run it through die cutting machine regardless of what machine you're using, in my experience anyway. So I took it back to my machine and I'm running it through again. Now you can see a much better cut, but it's still not perfect. So I'm going to take another piece of cardstock to use it as an extra shim in my die cutting machine. I'm going to run this through with the added shim using exactly the same sandwich for my die cutting machine I mentioned before. And once this cuts through, you can see a much cleaner cut. And this is where it started to get quite tricky for me. So when I am removing the die cut from the die itself, both the die and the die cut will be full of pieces that I need to start cleaning up out now. So it's just really poking through with my tool. Now please keep in mind that this is sped up version in here. So this took quite much longer because it was quite hard to poke some of those out, and some of them actually did stain, which I'll have to come back to cut out with either scissors or my craft knife. And you could just run this through more times your die cutting machine, adding extra shims and so on and so on. And in here you can see me cleaning out the die. I have to go bit by bit, and this is quite time consuming. Now, but if you're making a card or two and you only need a few flowers, this is doable. Don't get me wrong, this is very doable. But as I showed you at the start of this video, I was making a lot of flowers, and this process took me longer than the cutting itself. And this is why I decided to try something I've heard being done, but I never tried before. So it is these poly pockets or plastic sheets for your binders. Now, this one in here that I have is quite a thick one because this is the only ones that I've left at home. I've ordered some of the thinner ones again, but this works absolutely fine in here. So what I'm doing, I am kind of trapping the poly pocket or that plastic sheet between the die and the paper itself. And I made sure I taped the poly pocket to the paper so it will not move. I'm using my die cutting plate, my plastic plate or plastic shim, the metal shim, and another cutting plate. And this is how I'm going to run it through my die cutting machine, the die facing upwards. And once it had run through, I'm going to rotate the whole paper and the die cuts and run it through again. For my final cut, I'm going to add the piece of shim. It's just a scrap piece of paper that I added on top, and I run it through all together. Now I can see that my cuts are nice and clean now, but if you feel you need to run it through again, just feel free to do so. So in here I am removing, making sure that the plastic shim is being removed with the paper. You see how clean that die is? I don't need to go back and start cleaning that out. And for me personally, it's a win-win. And you see how lovely the clean that die cut itself is too. There's barely any one of them that had to be pushed out through again. They are coming out through nice and clean, and with the smallest one as well. As I said, this is my personal preference. Obviously, the plastic sheets will be an extra cost that you need to use, but to me, when I'm working with so many flowers and such delicate cuts, to me it is worth the investment. So, and now I'm just going to assemble my flowers. So these were the lacy die cuts, and I already had previously cut out the solid ones. So I'm using 3 layers for each flower, 2 of the solid and 1 of the intricate cuts. For this color of the paper, I decided to go with Mexican Sunrise Sparklicious Glitter, which is such a gorgeous corally color. And I'm just adding this to 1 layer of the flowers, and I'm just going very randomly. I'm not really trying to have it nice and tidy, just dots and lines anywhere all over that flower, and sprinkle my glitter all over it, and it will leave it nice and sparkly. Just one thing I forgot to show you at the start, how I shape all these petals. I'm just pinching them upwards, dying in the middle, just upwards. That's all what I'm doing to all the layers, the solid ones and the lacy ones as well. But before adding some shape to these intricate die cuts, I'm just going around the tips of each of those petals just with my dry clear glue. And I'm not focusing on having it on everywhere, all those petals, just here and there. And I'm dipping this into my Sparklicious fine glitter. Now you can see white dots in there, but once that dries, it will dry lovely and clear and leaves you with that gorgeous sparkle. Normally I would wait a minute or two before shaping them, but for the sake of this video, I just wanted to hurry up with it. So now I am adding a little bit of a hot glue, just dropping it in the middle of those layers and adding them on top of each other, offsetting each layer from the previous one. For my stamen, I use 2 different ones, and these are from 2 different stamp and die sets by Chloe's Creative Cards, which came with the Beautiful Bouquet collection. I used holographic silver cardstock for all my stamen, and the 2 stamp and die sets are called Beautiful Bouquet Blossom and the Beautiful Bouquet Bloom stamp and die sets. They have different stamen in 3 sizes of each, and I was able to run them through the die cutting machine at once and getting 6 stamen out of them. As you can see, there's a stamen with the elegant flower collection as well. If I wanted to use that one, I would have needed to run it through 6 times for each set, and I really didn't want to do that. So I thought this one was just a bit of a way to speeding it up. I know Chloe has another die that cuts out a lot of stamen, but I haven't got that one. So to me, this one was a pretty good alternative. So all I'm doing on my mat, on the foam, flower foaming foam mat, I just press down in the middle, just adding those stamen a little bit of dimension. And to further decorate the middle of the flowers, I use the sparklers from Chloe's Creative Cards. These are gorgeous, such sparkly little gems for the middle, and these come in 2 different sizes. For the larger flowers, I used the 12mm ones, and for the 2 smaller, the medium and the small one, I used the 10mm ones, and now I had to order some more. Just look how gorgeous that flower is. Now, another alternative instead of the Polly Pocket I seen lots of people use or talk about was wax paper or baking sheet, which I did try, and it was just this brine non-stick baking sheet which I have in my kitchen. Definitely helps with the cuts. It gives you lovely clean cuts, but it doesn't help with cleaning out your die. You still have to go through every single hole. To me, that was just too time consuming when I was making so many flowers. flowers. Now this is all the flowers in the box, and if you stay tuned, I'll show you another little close-up in here. I really hope you enjoyed today's tutorial, and if you did, please do not forget to give me the thumbs up and check back to see what I'm going to make with all these gorgeous flowers, because I have so many cards planned. I have a lot of cards to make for June, for school ending times and all, so I definitely will be coming back with some tutorials. I really hope to see you there. Until then, bye!